Hey guys, it's Rosemary. We are here. It's Monday morning. We're doing our Monday morning marketing show. Waffles is in the background there, and hopefully he'll be quiet. I just let him in because he was whining and whining and whining, and it was just getting real annoying. So he's inside. You'll probably see him perched in his favorite spot. And so if anyone comes to the door, he'll freak out and we'll have to cut this short. So we're going to try to get through this quickly so we can all go on with our day. But I wanted to make sure before we start creating all the content we want to start creating for our businesses to market what we're selling, we really need to have the foundations down. Now, I have a really fun story to tell you guys that something happened over the weekend, and it's really cool to merge kind of real time, real life projects that I'm working on or clients that I'm working with and their struggles, and really being able to share that with you as soon, as real time as I possibly can. So we're going to go over that as well. Everyone that's here, hi Christine, so glad that you're here. My husband just walked in too, and I'm surprised Waffles didn't freak out and bark, so that's a win. Okay, so let's dive in. Basically, before we start marketing anything, before we create any content, before we create any Instagram posts, Facebook posts, we have to know who we are. And I'm going to dive a little bit deeper in that because I've said that before, and some of you might be like, yeah, I know who I am. It's like I'm me, but it's a little bit deeper than that. Hey, Allie. Hi, hey, Latricia. How are you guys? So when I say who we are, I mean who you are to them, right? Who you are to your ideal client. So let's go back. What we really need to know before we start creating content is who we are, what we're selling, who we want to sell it to, and the stories that we need to tell those people to get them to take the actions we want them to take. Not always are we trying to get them to buy something immediately. Sometimes we need to warm them up a little bit. Usually, generally, the more expensive our offering is, the more we have to get their buy-in and trust and get them used to saying yes to us before they say yes to the big purchase, right? Sarah's here, Renew is here, Colette is here. So glad that you guys are here this morning. It's so fun to have you guys come live. Usually I'm there's a couple of people that pop in here and there, but it's usually just me. So I'm glad if you guys have questions about this marketing topic, this laying your foundation, they're all in there and I will try to answer them as quickly as I can. So the reason why I wanted to go over this is because I had a conversation over the weekend with my father-in-law, actually. It's my husband's mom's husband, and he's a realtor. He's been a realtor for longer than I've been alive. So it was kind of fun. He's starting his a new business. He was a realtor for this one company for years and years, and now he's transitioning to his own brokerage. So he's really kind of starting from scratch. And it's really interesting to have conversations with people that have been in one industry for a long time and have done things a certain way for a long time. And now they're having to transition into a kind of a different way of doing business. And so having those conversations and really getting them to understand, I know that you've been doing this for a long time, but your way of presenting yourself to the world digitally is new. And so we're really starting from scratch. And so having to have those foundational conversations sometimes can be a struggle for people, especially if you've been doing things a certain way, like I said, because you haven't thought about things like who you are to your ideal customer. So when we think about that, I'm with you all the way from Copenhagen. Oh my gosh, you're eating dinner. I just ate breakfast. That's crazy. I love that we can talk to each other across the world. And even though you're all the way in Copenhagen, which is that in Denmark? My geography is rusty. That's amazing. I'm sure you guys have the same exact situations because the business and the market is global, right? And so all of us are probably facing these same things, especially if you're somebody who creates content for other companies, if you create branding, if you create websites, any of that, you probably are going to have these same conversations. So I want to make sure we're kind of all on the same page with this. So who you are really means who you are to them. You need to know who you want to sell to. And most of us are to everyone and anyone who will buy it. And that's great. You can be of service to a bunch of people. But when you really target your messaging and you target your brand and you target your purpose to one specific, type of person or one specific dream client, it makes your content creation just so much easier. And I've said this before, but that doesn't mean you have to close the doors on people that aren't a good fit. It just means that the content you're creating is just trying to attract more of who you love to work with and trying to repel the people you don't love to work with. So for me, let's kind of dive into that as a real world example, which is me. I create brand identities, websites. I help people build businesses, really. But I'm really targeting all of my content to women. I feel like they are my best clients. I have the most fun with them. They seem to really mesh with my aesthetic and my vibe, and they just like pick up what I'm throwing down, right? They drink the Kool-Aid. And I just feel like that's who I want to work with most. So all the content I create, everything I talk to, even like the bio that I put in my Instagram feed, I say I work with women to build businesses, but that doesn't mean that I can't help men too. I just tailor my content to women. So just like my father-in-law, yes, he does have that like family connection, but I could have turned to him and been like, I just work with women, but of course I don't. I mean, I will help him and any other, man that's like drinking the Kool-Aid. I will help them work with their businesses as long as they understand like what my brand values are and what my business values are, and they're on board. But so that, just so that makes sense to you guys, just because I'm speaking to a specific type of person doesn't mean I can't help other people. Sarah says, huge increase in sales when you stop trying to cater to everyone. Exactly. The more niche you niche down, the better results you're going to see as far as getting people who are a good fit for your business. So speaking to my father-in-law, he's done real estate for, like I said, longer than I've been alive. And so I said, okay, and also Waffles is eating. That's the loudest crunching I've ever heard. I talked to him and I said, okay, who do you want to sell homes to? Of course, his initial response is everyone, and I go, that's not right. That's not an answer. Not everybody. So like, imagine your dream situation. Like what would be the easiest transition to get someone from just meeting them to purchasing something from you? And then he wanted to do property management as well. So that was the first thing, is we talked about, who he is, but then also what are you selling? He wants to do property management, but he also wants to sell homes and have his buyers purchase homes from him. So his ideal product or ideal service is really all encompassing. He wants to take someone from that initial, they're looking for a rental. He finds them a rental, and then he takes them, so he's both sections, right? He finds the renters for these rentals, but he also wants to take people that are purchasing homes and then trying to find renters for their home. So his ideal situation is to have both of those things. So we have to create a website that will do both of those things and speak to both of those audiences. So I said, okay, and that's great, you can do that. But when we target and create content, who's going to make you more money? Do you want to create content for the purchaser of the home that's going to end up renting the home to people, or the people that are going to rent homes from you? Obviously, he's going to make more money from the people that are the owners of the homes renting out. So that's just the simple thing, right? That's who we want to speak our content most to. We want to tailor that content to attract more of those people. And so then I said, okay, now we know that is the answer because you make the most money there. Who are these people? Are they in their 30s, 40s, 50s? And he said probably mid 35 to 65. And I said, that's fine. But let's try to niche down a little bit, because especially if you want to end up using Facebook ads, the way they do their targeting is they do it in 10-year increments. So you can target 35 to 44-year-olds, 45 to 54-year-olds, or 55 to 64-year-olds. Which of those age groups do you think you're going to make the most money from? And he said probably 44 to 55. 45 to 54. That's right. So we're just breaking it down. We're really niching down these people. And so I said, okay, how are you meeting these people? Probably through athletics. He has a history of going to ASU, Arizona State. He played football and baseball there, and then he actually played professional sports. So we decided, it popped over. Let me try to fix this really quick. Oh, that's why. I think my camera died. You know what? We'll just work with this. Perfect. We'll just do this camera. So I said, okay, from there, you're meeting these people through athletics. What is the next step? What is your next ideal contact point with these people? Oh, maybe we meet up for a golf thing. He loves golf. That's his hobby, his identifier. People know him through golfing. And I said, okay, so that's your ideal thing, right? You meet them through athletics. You take them golfing, and then they become a client. They end up purchasing an investment home from you, and then you just start managing their properties. That's your ideal situation. So while he's not going to get every client this way, not every client's going to come across him in this manner, and not every client's going to go golfing with him, if he tailors his content and talks about golf and talks about how he used to play sports at ASU and how he's still involved in ASU athletics, that's just creating content to try to attract more and more of those people he wants to work with the most and get the most value from, honestly. He's going to get the most dollar amount from people he meets that way and the most referrals. So when we're creating content, that's who we're thinking of. Who we are, what we sell, who we want to sell to, and the stories we need to tell them. So when we think about the stories we need to tell these people, we need to tell them stories like my grandson and all my grandkids go to ASU Prep. My grandson's in flag football. I'm going to his games. I'm supporting and doing this charity for the team. That is what it means by telling them who you are and the stories you need to tell them to get to that point. A person is made up of so many elements. There's so many things to a person. I love dancing. I love reading. I love gardening. I love fixer-upper. I love coffee. I love pizza. I love there's so many things that I love and I could share to the world, but I want to share the things that are going to make the most sense to my ideal audience and take them along that journey. So you want to really curate that part of yourself. It doesn't mean you have to share everything about you. There's definitely still things that you can keep private or to yourself. And there are things that might not fit exactly into the mold of I only share about my family and I only share about this. Like you can still share about things like fashion when it makes sense. But when we create these content pillars, we really want to think about who we are to them. So my father-in-law, we want to talk about not necessarily so much as like I played professional football, but more of like I was a part of the ASU Athletics Association. I still am a referee. I still am really involved in like high school athletics. I still support them. I go to these charity events. I help them raise money with golf tournaments to support these places. These are the high schools I work with, and you can feature some of the athletes that you kind of mentor at these high schools. So do you see where that is still telling about him, but as it pertains to his ideal client, because he wants to meet these ideal clients at these sporting events. So that is just a real world example of what you can share. Would you consider your brand story post as part of the brand awareness pillars? So like the 9th grade post, is that what you mean, Sarah? My brand story posts? As far as that goes, I kind of mix in brand awareness with value when I do my 9 grids. So my 9 grids, I imagine you're the editor of a magazine and you're creating an article. And in that article, you're going to talk about a charity because you're going to give value to people and you're going to talk about the story behind a charity, but you're also going to talk about how your company raises money for these places and all the different other charities that your company is part of, and the thing that you can actually purchase to donate to these charities. Excuse me. Within that article, do you see how there's brand awareness, there's giving value, and there's promotion? In that one article, like if you were to open up a magazine, it can have all those pieces. That is exactly the same as a 9 grid story. If you created a 9 grid story, let's just say there is a fundraiser you're a part of, Sarah, and maybe it has something to do with camping because your company is is Brand Camp, right? So maybe you're like, okay, I'm going to do a story, 9 grid story on a charity that has something to do with like a camp for maybe underprivileged kids. That could be a great thing, right? That's your story. You can talk about as brand awareness your experience maybe growing up and going to a summer camp. Maybe that's something that is brand awareness for you. And then another thing could be giving value. You could feature this camp with underprivileged kids and say, these are the people they help, this is the amazing things they've done, and that's kind of like shout out and giving value. And then also the promotion can say, and when you purchase these items this month, all the proceeds go to help this charity. Those are the 3 points, right? Those are the 3 different content categories within that 9 grid story, right? I actually made it live. Yay, Rachel, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad. If you have any questions, Rachel, about marketing, please let me know. So for sure, Sarah, for you, let's see if we can come back. My internet's being weird. So we've lost our camera, we've lost our internet connection. So if you guys are still here, that's just what I wanted to get across, laying your foundations. Who you are, what you sell, who you want to sell it to, and the stories you need to tell them. If you guys do have any more questions about this little marketing show, please leave them in the comments below, and I will come in throughout the day and I will respond back to your comments. And if you have questions for next week's marketing show, I'd love to answer them. Talk to you guys later.